From the News Channel 5 Network, this is MorningLine with Nick Barris.
Oh, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on MorningLine. Nick Barris with you on this Tuesday. It's good to have you with us, a live show, so you'll be able to join in the conversation if you want. In fact, the phone's there. I'll grab it and bring it up here. You can call in if you have a question or comment today for our guest. And as always, we are joined every week. And we've been doing this, I think, pretty much since spring, haven't we? Since March, Mary Elena's saying, with Vice Mayor Jim Schulman here in the great city of Nashville. It's been since March, Jim. You're a part of the team now, for real.
Well, it's nice to be back. I haven't been here in like 3 weeks, right. And I've missed you, Nick. It's I'm having withdrawals. I will tell you that told Mary Elena when I walked in that I had tried to make a blackberry cobbler last night for you, because we've been talking about that on the show, and I know Ann has called in about that, so I really tried, but it failed.
You had a failed cobbler.
It was a failed cobbler. It was there's a long story behind it, but it failed, and so I did not bring it in today. So I will try again next week.
Was it just? I got to ask. I mean, look, even a failed cobbler, you're talking about, berries and sugar and, I don't know, cream or butter and the crust. I mean, even if it's mucky, it's going to taste good.
Well, this just didn't taste right.
Okay.
Tasted too much like butter.
Okay.
So sorry. So
Thank
you didn't get anything today.
It's the thought that counts. We'll get together on this sooner or later.
I know.
Well, it's good to have you on. And listen, I'm not sure. We'll take phone calls, obviously, throughout the program. We haven't seen you in a few weeks, and thought I'd just let you at the beginning kind of guide us where you would like to talk. I've got some places we should go, but what do you think is important to address right now with regard to the city, or what you're hearing from a lot of the constituents?
I think the big issue continues to be the property tax increase in the referendum. Mm-hmm. And I know that has been, the court has it, and I think the court is going to hear arguments maybe next week and then try to make a decision by November the 3rd. And then it will, depending on what happens there, we'll figure out where we go from there. I think, again, the biggest concern, what you're seeing right now, is from the administration, from the mayor's office, is concerns over cash flow, because if again, without trying to, people go, well, you're just trying to scare people. No, it's just looking at it on paper. If you have to pull back that money that's coming in to kind of keep the city whole, and you got to pull it back, and you limit the ability for the city to operate in terms of revenues, then it's hard to borrow cash at this point to keep the city kind of to keep it functioning. Basically, it's like if you don't have money to run the city, that you're in trouble. And what the city would normally do is that they're waiting for revenue to come in. You just borrow it, and then you pay it back very quickly, like short term. But people don't necessarily want to give you money if you don't have the ability to raise the revenues to pay it back.
Okay, so what you're saying is, even though they haven't made a decision yet, with the thought that there's the possibility that those revenues may not happen if, the court sides and it goes to a referendum and it passes, then right now, as it stands, money's needed now. And typically you'd say to someone, okay, look, we're going to be getting this tax increase and we'll have the money to pay you back. We need to borrow now.
Right.
But because we're kind of in limbo right now, you can't go get that money now because no one's going to loan it to you, because they think, well, we'll loan it to you, and what if this referendum passes? Then we're going to be left holding the bag. So what kind of services can that start affecting in the interim right now while we're in this limbo?
Yeah, well, so if you've been watching, they've been pulling back on all discretionary grants. So a lot of those grants that were going out to groups like the not-for-profits, the arts groups, everything else like that, everything had to be pulled back because they're trying to hold on to as much cash as possible at this point. At this point, there's a hiring freeze, travel restrictions, all those other things. So the city is putting those things into place to hold on to the cash right now. Gotcha. So you're going to see that. Big things, I think everybody has to look at those right now. Everybody's just trying to hold it together until we get through and figure out what's going on with this referendum.
Wow.
But there are ramifications from all of it, and obviously serious ramifications on the other side.
So we think the judge could rule sometime or hear the case next week. I don't know how long it'll take to hear it. And the decision will be from the judge whether, yes, all right, they can move forward with referendum and we'll vote on it.
Yeah.
Or the judge could determine this is unconstitutional under the charter or whatever. This can't be done. They didn't do it right. It goes away. Is that basically what it is?
Well, so yeah, there's all kinds of different options with it. There are questions about the legality of the language that is in the proposed referendum. There is no severability clause which says, look, if some of it's illegal, you can you can hear the other parts of it. The Election Commission gave it to the court to try to make the determination as to whether you can put the whole thing on the ballot, you can put parts of it on the ballot, you can't put any of it on the ballot. At some point, I would guess that this will be heard, or it will get on the ballot. In some capacity, whether you ever have to back up and do it again or whatever. But the question is, it costs money to have these referendums. It's like $800,000. So one of the reasons the Election Commission said, you know what, we need to get this clarified. Why spend $800,000 on a referendum if it's just going to be legally challenged and either overthrown or whatever? So I think, again, this is just me, I think it's in the right place. If there are issues regarding the legality of something, why would you put it on the ballot and spend that type of money when it may just be overturned?
Yeah.
See if we can get it right on the first place.
Okay. So, yeah, well, you're absolutely right. That's going to be a big story when we come around to it. Before we get to some phone calls, I thought I'd ask you just two. I did see yesterday that the list of finalists for the police chief,
That's right.
It's out, including the interim police chief right now, and it's good to see that his name's on there as well. I didn't get a chance to peruse some of the others off the top of your head. Can you recall what other cities maybe chiefs are coming from that are applying here?
Yeah, it's a variety of people. It looks like they've got a good group to look at, take a serious look at. There's a female police chief from Aurora, Illinois.
Okay.
There's an individual from Pittsburgh. There's somebody, I believe, from maybe Austin, Texas. And forget where the other individual is. I think he's like the commissioner of something, and it may either be North Carolina or Virginia.
So it's down to the final five then, right? As you said. And yeah, I apologize, I didn't bring the whole list up with me, but that's good. I wondered if there was a female, which there is, and then they're from all around the country. Plus, again, we have the interim chief also in the running for it. And so where does the process kind of go from here? They'll all be brought in again and interviewed, and who gets to talk to them? Will you get to talk to them?
Well, I don't know if I'll get to talk to him. I know the mayor has talked to me about how we deal with this. I know he's got a group that'll start interviewing, this group of 5. Ultimately, it is the mayor's call.
Right.
So I think he's, listening to people. Obviously, there'll be much more of a focus on these 5. They've had community forums where people have been able to say what they want in a new chief. I know this is a very important decision. I mean, of
course,
Nick, I was on a call the other day with the head of city councils from Louisville, Atlanta, and San Jose. I think Atlanta has been through several police chiefs. Louisville is looking for a new one. A number of cities are going through this process right now. We want to pick the best person available for this job. This is an important position. After we get through this national election, time to heal, time to bring everybody back together. So I think the mayor understands the importance of this pick. It's very, very important. And it looks like we've got a good group of 5. So
yeah,
we'll see where it goes.
That's going to be really interesting to see, because you're right, incredibly important. It's interesting that you were talking with folks in both Atlanta and Louisville. As we both know, they've had some real issues with law enforcement there that continue today. And whoever this new chief is going to be is going to have to deal early next year with the Hambrick-Delkey trial.
That's
okay,
right.
And again, this is a chief coming in, unless it's the interim who's been here, and that's going to have to be handled delicately. There could be rallies, there could be protests with around how that plays out. So I'm with you, though. When we get past this, I hope we get to the new year and especially put 2020 behind us. It's time for some healing and good times. Listen, we got to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll be joined by, among others, Joe and Ann have already called you. I think Ann's going to grill you about your cobbler.
I'm sure she is.
And I know she'll have other good questions as well. So, hey, if you'd like to join us, this is the Vice Mayor Jim Schulman. Questions we haven't touched yet on COVID here in the city. And there is some good news on that front, at least in the metropolitan area, though across the state, some real problems on that front. We'll take a break and be back with more right after this.